If you could either go back in time and tell Richard Gadd to provide 10% more empathy and awareness for Martha in this work, or kill Jillian Michaels as a baby. Just remove her from all discourse.
God. I mean, the second one might make the first one unnecessary.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like the magnitude of the culture change.
That was just a joke. No one thinks Jillian Michaels should die.
She's gonna live forever because
because she's not fat and she doesn't use Ozempic.
Yeah, she doesn't need it because she has willpower and a brain.
And Jenny O Turkey. Jenny O Turkey.
Text me back. Text me back. Text me back. Text me back at once.
We're here to talk today about something very important, which is the new Netflix #1 limited series, Baby Reindeer. Is it good for the fats? How are we feeling?
I am deeply mixed about whether it is good for the fats and whether it's good for the gays. We have a lot of queer characters now. A lot of them are the same queer character. Like, we need to have a conversation about gay assistants. There are too many gay assistants in little suits running around. But with Fatness, it isn't even that. It just doesn't cross anybody's mind that you could center a story on the actress who plays Martha.
I wonder how fat the real Martha was. Because I was just thinking about how when I made my show, where we tried to do nice representation of a fat lady.
Yeah.
We had to cast someone not as fat as me.
Yeah.
And then maybe I wonder if they cast someone fatter than the real Martha to be the scary fat lady.
I'll bet you cash money. In not having access to Martha, she really is just a reflection for whatever Donnie is projecting at her.
I vaguely had bad parents, maybe. And I live alone and I eat soup.
Her house being a mess also just felt like we have so little representation and it's all the same kind of look at this sloppy, terrible fat person, but also part of it is I am a sloppy, terrible fat person. And so I'm just like, oh no, they see me for my grossness.
I know. It's so hard because I feel like I have to present a fictional version of myself to the world so as not to reflect poorly on fat people as a whole.
Last time we had dinner, I explained to you the concept of Shonda for the Goyim. You're embarrassing us in front of the Gentiles.
Yes.
And you can't do anything to satisfy people's ideas of what fat people are. Any minority group runs into it. My question to you, I guess, is this still a crazy bitch story?
Kind of, but it feels so different to me because he's so attached to her. He's like extracting from her in this way that he's addicted to the point where, you know, at the end he's like still jerking off to her and he's still just like listening to her as like she's a podcast.
I loved it. Coming to the moment where he starts jerking off to her because of what it means emotionally, to me was one of the hottest scenes I've seen in something in a long time, because it really is touching something deep and dangerous. Isn't that grand? The connection to her need and the way that it was reflective of himself. I mean, art is about seeing humanity in other people. It is about sharing of yourself. When he understands her, when he misses her, it's beautiful.
I mean, like, look, I am personally ruined by this type of depiction of fat women.
Yes.
Like, I am in therapy being like, I'm terrified to appear sexual to other people or express sexuality at all ever because it's illegal.
I, like, a month or two ago was at a party and I met someone and I just like was legitimately charmed by him, legitimately attracted to him. And my reaction was, he doesn't want to have to deal with this. You become uncomfortable with your own sexuality because you're told that a person who doesn't do that is a crazy. Most of the time, people are fine with me entering spaces as long as I don't cross the boundaries of what's unacceptable. You know, I am supposed to know my place. And the magic of Martha is that she does not know her place.
I liked her confidence. Like,
yes,
because that's something that I don't have.
And there is also something to me when it comes to fat desire and representation of fat desire. Like, part of what's underlying this is this idea of how dare you put me in the awkward position of having to tell you how disgusting you are. You're supposed to just have like auto settings on where you reject yourself, and then I never have to do that work.
And that's part of what makes her menacing. And I mean, I guess I've written about that before, that fat women who express any kind of sexuality are predatory.
Your options are just sort of being like pure object and fetishy object. Like, you know, this is a good time that doesn't require you to have any engagement or commitment, or it's a, you know, nefarious thing coming at you. And I think because for most straight men, gay desire is seen as predatory and uncomfortable, associating that with a body that is then not something that we find acceptable, like, doubles the game, you know? But
I loved it, though. I loved this show. It seems like there's been a lot of discourse lately about what is the duty of art. Does it have to make a point or teach a lesson that is the correct lesson?
The preface of The Picture of Dorian Gray would tell us that art that is didactic, that art that has too clear of one point, is not good art. And the purpose of art is to be complex. And I would say it's done its job that we're having this conversation. It's done its job that we're pulling it apart. But there's also the way that I, as a fat gay person who is also a writer, I'm just aware that we exist at a point in time when to sell a TV show, you need to have IP. And when there isn't IP that is about my experience, then you can't go and sell it. A significant problem in queer representation over the past 30 or 40 years has been like, that it's always from a straight person's point of view. And this person isn't straight, but it's the story that is told is kind of that gayness happens to him. Like, yeah, he's just a regular guy, and then he got gay dumped on him, and now he's got this gay. I mean, the thing that is considered deeply transgressive is Donnie's passed out, and he wakes up, and the dude is doing something to his butt. And he's like, oh no, where have I gotten to? And it is sort of representing gay sex as being inherently predatory and creepy. Anyone who is your listener who is inclined to say, what's so wrong with showing this cis gay man as a predator? Men are predators, and gay men are predators. And like the idea that where penises go, danger happens. Like, and particularly where queer penises go, danger happens. That's one of the spells that is used to invoke turfdom.
I guess the thing I bump up against is like, I wouldn't want him to polish it for the audience. The fact that his perspective is fucked up is part of what makes it interesting.
It's about a straight presenting guy, like a cis white straight presenting guy with abs, saying, ugh, am I going to be brave enough to date this trans lady? Am I going to be brave enough to be gay? He could not acknowledge or deal with having desires that were anything beyond cis on cis heterosexuality. So then he ends up sort of engaged with this cis on cis heterosexuality that is also shameful in its own way because she is fat and gross and mentally ill. You only get to do it if the person at the center is someone we can understand as a person. And yeah, Martha as a character never gets to be a person because she is a fat person who thinks that she is deserving of love, and that is conflated with mental illness. Now, you can 100% say, well, this person experienced a cis gay guy who was more powerful than him in the industry who sexually violated him. He experienced a mentally ill fat woman who wouldn't leave him alone and harassed him. And all of those things, but we don't see anything other than these situations where these things are conflated.
If you're gonna have the scene in the bathhouse with the scary, menacing men coming out of the darkness, can you have one other gay character that's not a rapist?
Well, this is a good thing to discuss because it is a trend in queer storytelling, in gay male and cis gay male storytelling, that cis gay men love to make media about clubs and bathhouses and drugs, and then say, but it's terrible. And there's another way of being a good gay person that we're not going to show you, but you need to know that it exists. And it means that you have children and you settle down, but we're not going to show you that. And I think we just need a couple more pieces of media that are like, clubs are fun, fucking is fun, and it's not necessarily a road to self-destruction. Sometimes it's just a place to have fun and learn that you're pansexual. Little Donnie learned that he was pansexual from this world. There is that moment at the end when he says he has been more committed to being disgusted by himself than he has to any of the relationships in his life. And it's just so honest that it buys me back in, you know?
I know. Yeah. Yeah, I couldn't turn against it because it's so honest.
It is a big cathartic piece of art. There's also something to be said for honesty and like the experience of going on a trans dating site and not being honest about who he was is the way so many people start their journey into being transphilic or being trans themselves or being gay themselves.
If you're Richard, is there an argument to be made that you are making an artistic choice to flatten all these other characters into just what this main character would realistically be able to see?
Yes.
But that's also just an easy out. You know, if he can say that.
I don't think it's easy. A lot of things don't do the work of providing the empathy. And it is saying, in a very Christian sense of empathy, everyone out there who is suffering, we are all suffering in the same way. And you may not see it as easily on my face, but I am. I kind of love it.
I think it's a really fascinating piece of work, and I was consumed by it, even though it hurt me in several ways.
Yes.
And that's like, okay.
Art canon should challenge. And the thing is like, saying art can never be more than the representation of its artist's perspective can also go along with, but we do need to diversify the artists who get the infrastructure to be able to tell stories on a broader platform. We just live in a world that is still imperfect. But also we cannot count this as fat representation, and we cannot count this in its way as gay representation. You're like, Guy, but by the end, he's a queer person who's coming out to his parents. He is, but he only gets to do that because he had 3 episodes of passing, you know? And it just frustrates me that, like, if you have something that is explicitly queer, everybody's like, well, that's for those people. I don't need to watch that. But if you have somebody who gives you their presentation of not challenging you, sucks you in and then challenges you, I would say 2 things. Maybe I should go back in the closet and just do that. That would probably be a better path to success. And you would think when it came to sucking people in, gay guys would be better. While we're recording, can I say one more thing?
Please.
Why, yes, Lindy, I do have a show on May 7th at the Elysian Theater as part of Netflix's A Joke Festival. So please go to the Elysian Theater's website or to Netflix's A Joke and get tickets for Guy Branum in Los Angeles. If you are in Los Angeles,
do it.
Or
else.
Or else.
Consequences. All right. I love you.
I love you.
Text me back.